Second part, September 4th. Yours truly. The storm has died down. Big storm. I kept marching, of course, and here we are. We reached downtown Montreal. I went to store at a corner where, of course, we had a little bit of that spending of some money, not much, because we're on the budget. But I got noodles for my post-workout meal, so that's gonna be a meal on the budget. It was on special, so I decided, of course, to get it. I decided, of course, to get the meal and to get it on the go and make, I guess, enough of my face here, you know. Now I gotta get on that drill, you know, to be able to go now and get a little bit of that food, and always have a little bit of that food when it's good, and that is something when it's, of course, useful for us to do and to be, and of course to be on the go now where we are, you know. I'm not sure it's good. Supposedly it's good, and that is something where we have to be doing, you know. Encouraging all to work out, try and exercise, and we're gonna take a right turn, abrupt, and glad I got those noodles. You're gonna see it in the short video, of course, short video afterwards, and there's just gonna be a little bit of that rock and roll, and that's how we're gonna get drilling with that. Always for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, the firefighters, the plumbers, electricians, the welders, yeah, all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And although now, you know, doing a little bit of that trucking and a little bit of that welding, a little bit of that transportation with the trucks, and I'm excited. Look at these beautiful flowers. I'm excited to try those noodles. They were on special, you know, and did a little bit of that, and that's something which we gotta get doing with that too. Beautiful flowers. Thank you for the embellishment of the cities, and I'm joyous, just financially stressed. Gonna always put it for the 63, you know, for the 10, the 50, and the 3, and that's just how we're gonna go drilling with that, and always meditating everything that's happening now across the North American Collective. $3.99 for 5 packs. So if it's 5 packs, that means that's about 75 cents, you know. 75 cents. About more or less 75 cents, 80 cents. The cost, of course, per unit, of course. The cost per unit. So that's about the cost per unit with that, and that was just something which we gotta, of course, contribute to ourselves, you know, because it took a big transportation, you know. It took a big transportation to reach here from Indonesia. So it's a long way. Interestingly enough, there was some major geopolitical events in Indonesia and all the things where we got, you know, to do, of course, and all those diplomatic affairs where we are to be doing on the go, and that's something where we are, of course, all the way, of course, here to Montreal. So it took a long road, of course. Something where we are, of course, to get doing, and that was just one thing, you know. So that is just, of course, something which myself, I gotta appreciate being financially stressed. A little bit of that good food, which we're gonna get that hydration, and good food, which we're gonna get that good loving. That's a little bit of that good loving there in the corner. A good loving there in the corner, that's good. If it's good loving, I like it, I endorse it. I guess someone making love gives me a little of hope, you know. HOP, you know, to getting on the go, you know. That puts a smile on my face. Quadruples, they were just about to kiss, I guess. So that's always fun. That's always fun, you know. Something which we have, of course, to do and to get it on the go. A little bit of a smile there from my fellow cousins and cousinettes here, the big North American Collective family. Sometimes we're dysfunctional, you know. But hey, we gotta work together, you know. The 63, and yeah, grateful, thankful, gonna commence gratitude, grateful, thankful here from downtown Montreal, heading home. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food, got coffee, and I live with my neurological mental divergent condition. Been a hard road, struggle, pain, suffering, and live with my scars, survived so much, and you know, a lot of people are survivors out here, and you know, sometimes you change, and change comes with pain and sweat and tears, and all the sweat and tears that you live with are sometimes given to a birth to something like a beautiful, you know, realization of how important life is. And how grateful we are just to be alive and having survived COVID myself. It was 5 years since I survived COVID, and I like to see people getting rehabilitation. That's what I like to see, people getting rehabilitated. Rehabilitation, my brothers and sisters getting a little bit of that good rehabilitation is always something which I love, and of course I support and I applaud and I cherish and I sing that rock and roll when I hear good stories of rehabilitation with my brothers and sisters doing their second chances in the criminal rehabilitation and the corrections and taking their second, third, even fourth chances and rock and rolling with it and say, hey, I'm gonna change my life and this is a new direction for me. And I guess I'm on my fourth change now since I moved from where I used to live in Cardenas. I moved in I thought it was 2016, but it ends up it was 2015. So it's been 10 years, and then I was depressed and suicidal for a few years, and I crossed Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean, So having crossed Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean is something which we have to be on the concomitant things of life, and something which we got to get ourselves, the sphere of the confluences where we are now, to be rehabilitated and to say, people deserve second chances and third chances, and always got to get doing. Always got to get that admiration for those, of course, who take their second chances, of course, who take their second chances and turn their life around, turn their life around, and turning their life around is something which, of course, I have, and is something which I got to get doing with that, and something which I have to get that rehabilitation 24/7, my own self, and all the things where we are now. To be involved, of course, and get it at XYZ and XYZ, and that is just something that, of course, it's always something where we got together here, survivors of COVID and survivors of other trauma, and me, my memories a bit black out my life prior to 2014, spring 2014. That's a long time ago already. Spring 2014. That's 11 years and 4 months. 11 years and 4 months. 11 years and almost going to be 5 months soon, because it's about spring, it's about March, April. So my life prior to that remains a mystery, a big mystery. See, a store I never been in, not today because I'm on that budget, but I got that flag spotted, so I gotta show mine, and I always gotta be next time. I guess if I guess I already have what I need. I'm just looking for those wafers, how much they are, and it looks like an interesting place for the next time when I have $5-10 to come. See, a store I haven't been, I would call a bazaar. And another store I have never been in. I think they might be even new during COVID. Anyway, so survived COVID and always got a salute now. It's not just about me, it's all about me, you, us, the collective, the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the plumbers, the electricians. I just saw some acts of love, a little bit of that affection. So that's always good. Always gives me a little HOPE, that hope when I see that. And it's not all about the money. I guess today, 4th of September, some Wall Street citizens made their little million, give 10% of every million you make profit, It's another labor strikes in Canada here. We got record labor strikes, and there's a lot of tough times, and I guess I've been to my share of own, and still am financially stressed. My only stress now, is financial, Besides financial stress and pretty much joyous, I still get, I guess, a little bit of that pain and suffering and tears, I guess, probably till the end, those pain and tears, but still joyous when I see, people are loving and hugging and acts of goodness and kindness and charity sometimes, which I gotta get doing with myself, my own daily life activity, where we are, to get doing with that, and just life affirming action. Gonna check my bank account, how in the red I am, so just checking, because I just did a $6 purchase. $6 purchase right there, so I'm just gonna leave that inspectorates. So I gotta be grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food, and I spent $6 with a card, so I gotta check, 'cause I bought those noodles and I bought something sweet, so I gotta check how much in the minus I am, because I was missing $1, so I had to use the card. So I'm just gonna see if it processed already to the bank. Just basically what I'm doing now is checking to see how much is processed. How much was processed? So yeah, it seems that it was processed right away, and I'm just gonna do quickie because I need to get. I did a little bit of something, and well, the receipt comes to the other way here. Okay, so hold on. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to. $15 for tomorrow. $15 for tomorrow for Sabbath food, and that's all I need. I'm in a tight budget. I'm in the red. Financially stressed. But got that soup for when I go back, and now we're gonna go back because I'm planning for a post-storm, and I've been on the march for a few hours now. Saluting the firefighters, the bakers, the butchers, the nurses. What I'm just gonna do before, because I see that they took out the disinfectant, I'm just gonna disinfect my hands. So I'm just gonna disinfect my hands a little bit with the disinfectant. Super important to disinfect, you know. With this little thing, disinfect the hands. They took the disinfectant, so I gotta carry myself. They should have kept the disinfectant. I'm not talking to you, sir. I wasn't talking to him. I was talking to the disinfectant and to us here, YouTube, and that's what I got, you know. Gotta use that disinfectant. Super important. Get that disinfectant use, and that's just how we gotta do it, you know, together. Here we are. Yeah, because you never know. Imagine how many people touch it, you know. How many people touch it. A lot of people touch it, and a lot of people touch the screen, you know. So if we don't disinfect, now I open carry my disinfector. It's a hand sanitizer, antiseptic. See, I am not getting paid for any money to do this. And of course, you can see the antiseptic there. It's a hand sanitizer gel, basically, which I need to put on. It's a bit gluey, but you know, gotta disinfect those hands and count to 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and add a few seconds. It kind of smells good. This one kind of smells okay. But just imagine, you know, how many people, a lot of people touch it, you know, touch the screens, and there's so many personal hygiene of citizens into account. Because imagine just before me, I mean, I don't know exactly how many were there before me, but it's possible that they were in the hundreds, maybe in the thousands, before it got cleaned, you know, before it got cleaned. So I had to do a little bit of disinfecting with my own hand sanitizer because you got bacteria, germs, microbes, and I keep the protocols which kind of started during COVID, right? Which kind of started during COVID, you know? Kind of started during COVID, you know? During COVID, you know? So I had COVID. I'm just gonna take that rainbow umbrella because, you know, I'm not just part of this neurodivergence, but I'm part of the LGBTQ community as well, and I got one just like this at home. I guess mine's okay. That is that rock and roll here. That remind me a little bit of COVID when we had to wear the mask, you know. And I guess even now today, some circumstances, I guess a mask is warranted. But of course, what I gotta say now is that I'm urging all to please keep the protocols of COVID. You know, please keep in the public. Because just to make an assessment, citizen assessment, because I had to touch the buttons in order to put the PIN code, right? So I guess because my PIN, I'm not gonna say how many digits I have to put. Let's say I have to put between 6 and 11, right? 6 and 11. Somebody might have just 5 or 8 or 7. I'm gonna say between 6 and 11 mine. Don't try to steal because I'm in the red. I'm broke anyways. I'm financially stressed, but I paid my rent for the month of September 3 days ago. Today's on the 4th. Paid my rent. Paid my rent. Paid my electricity bill. The only bill I have to pay, and I have to pay it soon because I guess I'm already gonna pay a fee of $1.44 since I'm late. So I guess that fee's already registered. But I gotta pay my phone, so the phone has to be paid this month. I guess within the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna try to do it before September 11th next week. Maybe go over the weekend, see how that goes. And back to what I was saying, of course, please keep the protocols, hygienic protocols. So I'm making a reference to the protocols, hygienic protocols. And thank you for the donation. Yesterday somebody got me a melon like that. It was donated, so my anonymous friend maybe cut it already. I'm not sure, maybe it was cut it already, but that is just something which we have to be doing together, you know, and that is just something which we gotta get doing by that appreciation of the donation for food security. So back, of course, to hygiene, you know, the hygienic protocols, of course, which we gotta instaurate and we gotta keep, I guess, to the best of one's ability, because I recognize the financial stress can add a little bit of pressure, extra pressure. And it can be so tight that affording to buy a hand sanitizer, antiseptic hand sanitizer, could be a difficulty and such a burden even for one financially. Yes, of course. You need a hand? Besoin d'aide? You're good? Okay. So maybe he needs a hand with the bike, my fellow citizen there. And if he needs a hand to stabilize it, you know. I guess if I can help somebody, I guess I will, you know. And that's just what it is with that, and that's just what we gotta get doing with the drills, man, you know. Was it slippery and it slipped a bit, so I say my uncle of great North American family here, if he could give a hand, you know. My only support that I need is an Aspie. I don't need much support because Aspies, you know, we're different, we're weird, awkward, eccentric, and I live with it, and there's no medication for Asperger's. But before I get into Asperger's and geopolitics and my fitness journey is something which I gotta get doing with that, and that's something which I gotta get doing with the drill, you know. So that's just something which I gotta get doing on that, you know, for the manifestations of where we are now. So the proposition is that we have to keep the hygienic protocols, but in different, so for example here, because I went and I touched the screen, right? The screen, I had to put my hand on the buttons, but those buttons before me, because somebody just went after me, right? So imagine how many people have touched those buttons, and there's a high probability that all my numbers were touched several times, because you have to enter several numbers, right? Between 0 and 9, the digits to enter your code, which is of course manually you have to strike. So basically, of course, the microbes, bacteria, and germs could be relayed, could be there transmitted from citizen to citizen, inside or outside, or the exterior by the finger, that you have to touch it directly if you don't wear gloves. And how many people wear gloves? Look at these beautiful flowers. That I don't know, but I'm assuming that 90%, 90 maybe plus percent did not wear gloves, right? And did not disinfect the hand after. Maybe before, some did, like I did before, but I did not disinfect after. Even myself, you know, I went shopping, so I touched some items, but maybe my disinfectant of the hands could have been better, right? Although I did it now, so now my hands are disinfected, right? My hands are disinfected, at least still. I touch and I do whatever. I go to the bathroom, to the washroom, etc., etc., etc. So that disinfectant, which we have to do, is the disinfectation, of course, we have to disinfect ourselves at the hands, you know, because that's what we are and that's what we do, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. So basically, of course, the fundamental aspect of hygiene is the public hygiene in protocols. So basically, in the public, when I touch the screen, when you touch those screens, somebody else touches those screens, is of course something which we have, of course, in the appellation, of course, to do. So of course, touching those screens entails that we have, of course, personal hygiene, and the personal hygiene where we have now to take care of my personal hygiene, but for the benefit of the collective as well, because there's kind of a public responsibility thereof, right? Although I went in the private institution, there's a public-private type of private partnership involved, because now, for example, I'm in the public, so I have added responsibilities, duties, and obligations against my fellow other citizens, for example, to stay on the right, and duties, obligations, and responsibilities are added. It's not just about the rights and the freedoms and the liberty, it is, but it's always a compromise, a concordiate, right? It has to be balanced as much as we can. And of course, I'm somebody who doesn't like violence, and no violence, I don't like. I'm hyper-vigilant, you know, I live with my own trauma, you know. So that is just how we gotta go rolling on the day-to-day basis. So basically, on the day-to-day basis, the public hygiene is something which requires, because think about it, I mean, we can only estimate how many people have touched the screen, you know, how many people have touched the screen before myself. I would say that it's in the high range, right? So microbes and bacteria, germs, of course, they travel, you know. Microbes, bacteria, of course, germs, they travel. So of course, they also stick on the different items which we touch. So the transference of germs, bacteria, microbes, of course, can be in consequences for XYZ situation, whatever the case may be. So the germs, bacteria, of course, can be transferred. And that is just the situational operation where we are, of course, involved in all the daily activities of life, that we have to consider sanitation, and even keeping the sanitation protocols that were developed during COVID. I think it's going to start again, this storm. So we're going to end it there and support my DMAA, get acquainted with my direct military assistance and action. It is more important now than ever as it relates to NATO. I'm going to discuss it maybe when I get home. Maybe I'll do half an hour just on that, because now I cannot elongate my march. I'm a few hours from my home, so it's starting to rain, and this is my only work too, so I cannot really film all the way. I guess I can film a little bit, and then we're gonna have to end it for the day, because if it starts raining more further, you know, the more further, you know, it rains, and the more further it rains, the more further, of course, we got to appellate in all the situational aspects where we are together now in the sphere of the 4th of September, where we are on the verge of what I predicted of World War III. And you know, I'm a bit strange, awkward, weird, and due to my Asperger's, and being that I'm an Aspie, I see the world differently, as I'm part of this tiny small fraction of the population who lives with this neurodivergent condition known as Asperger's. It's not a mental illness. It's not an illness at all. It's just that we see the world differently, but I'm part of this tiny minority of less than 0.44%, less than half of a percentile, but only 50% are only 50% are officially diagnosed, so it's actually double in reality. So, but even if it's double, it's less than 1%, because the diagnosed population stands at 0.44%, so it's not even half of a 1%, not even half of 1% of the population. So I'm part of this tiny small fraction of the population, a tiny minority, and I live with this condition, and there's no medication. I just have to work on the characteristics and traits, because I don't use the word symptoms. Symptoms is more for an illness. Well, my characteristics and traits, as they manifest as an individual sovereign citizen with Asperger's, I always interpolate them in the greater context of the collective collective community who lives with high functioning autism, aka Asperger's. And of course there's the dynamics can interplay and intervary with different variation and degrees from individual to individual, and then you have the general overall characteristics of Asperger's, such as echolalia, repeating words, getting too close in conversation, and having these special interests, aka obsessive interests. But then again, I don't use the word obsessive, because obsessive is something which is more for a neurotypical, an obsession, while of course as Aspies we find our nature and our dedication and intensity and super focus, super concentration, super involvement when we are involved in those special interests. It takes full accord and full full intense engagement in those special interests, of which myself is the holy trinity. Sports and fitness, dancing is my favorite sport, rock and roll, and geopolitics. And geopolitics, even today, there's so many geopolitical events that I had to concord and accord and revise. And suffice it to say that I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. I have proof. I have the video online. In 2019 I predicted that on the horizon there's a World War III conflagration coming, a World War III, and so made also created, produced, or designed a workout training program, of which myself have produced, that actually I successfully completed more than 372 sessions. October 17, 2019, I predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration on the horizon. Get well acquainted with my DMAA theories, with my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, and my initiatives, protocols, of course, which are fundamentally a public-private partnership base call to all willingly loving, pledge your legions, friends with benefits only, 18 plus. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. 18 plus, gotta be on that concordant, gotta be on that loving, and you know, here it's starting to rain again hard. So part 2, September 4th, Imperium, Draconis, Legionis, Servitium edition for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, truckers, plumbers, electricians, the welders, all those firefighters gonna get that home. HH